Imagine you accidentally touch a hot stove. Before your brain even fully registers the pain, your hand has already pulled away. That split-second response is your nervous system working in ways most people never stop to think about. I am Miss Kathy, and today we are going to walk through the complete answer set for Tutorial 3 on the nervous system, covering neural signaling, the reflex arc, and the autonomic nervous system. By the end, you will not just have the answers, you will understand the reasoning behind each one. Let us get into it together. By the end of this topic, you should be able to describe how the nervous system is organized and understand the cells that make it work, neurons and glial cells. You will explore how nerve impulses are generated and transmitted, including across synapses. We will also cover the autonomic nervous system, reflex arcs, sensory receptors, and the electrical events behind resting and action potentials. There is a lot to unpack, so let us get started. These are multiple choice questions covering the nervous system. 9 questions in total, each with one correct answer. As you work through them, think carefully about the concepts you have studied, nerve structures, signal transmission, and how the nervous system is organized. Read each option thoroughly before deciding. Trust your understanding, and use these to honestly check where you stand. These 2 questions test your understanding of the structural organization of the nervous system and the identification of sensory receptor organs. For the first question, think carefully about the divisions of the nervous system and where exactly voluntary versus involuntary control sits. Knowing the hierarchy from the broadest division down to the specific subdivisions will point you to the correct answer. For the second question, recall which organs directly receive and process sensory information from the external environment. Work through each option systematically before checking your answer. Now let us go through the answers for the first 2 questions together. For question 1, the correct answer is the autonomic nervous system. This is because the autonomic nervous system is specifically responsible for controlling involuntary body functions, things you do not consciously think about, like your heart beating or digestion. It contains 2 divisions, the sympathetic, which handles fight or flight responses, and the parasympathetic, which handles rest and recovery. The central nervous system refers only to the brain and spinal cord. The somatic division controls voluntary skeletal muscle movement, and the peripheral nervous system is actually the broader category that includes both somatic and autonomic together. For question 2, the correct answer is Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, and 4, the eye, ear, skin, and tongue. Each of these is a specific sensory receptor organ. The eye detects vision, the ear handles hearing and balance, the skin responds to touch, pain, and temperature, and the tongue detects taste. The reason the head is excluded is important. The head is a general anatomical region, not a sensory receptor itself. It contains sense organs, but it is not one. Watch out for that distinction, because it is a common trap in questions like this. These 3 questions test your understanding of neuron signal transmission, the structural organization of the nervous system, and sensory physiology. For each one, think carefully about the specific roles of each component mentioned. Do not just eliminate obvious wrong answers, but reason through why the correct answer fits precisely. Work through these independently before checking your answers. These 2 questions test your knowledge of sensory physiology and neural support cells, 2 areas where students commonly mix up terminology. For question 5, think carefully about what defines a primary taste sensation versus other sensory experiences. Ask yourself, which receptors are actually involved, and where are they located? For question 6, recall the different types of glial cells and their relative populations in the nervous system. Think about which cell type performs the most widespread support functions. Work through both independently before checking the answers below. These 2 questions test your understanding of neuron structure and the resting membrane potential, 2 foundational concepts you really need to be solid on. For question 7, think carefully about the directional flow of impulses. Remember, dendrites receive and carry signals toward the cell body, while the axon terminal is the release site for neurotransmitters into the synapse. For question 8, recall what defines the resting state, specifically the ion distribution and charge polarity across the membrane. The outside is positively charged due to the higher concentration of sodium ions outside the cell, giving a resting membrane potential of approximately -70 millivolts inside. Work through both independently before checking your answers. Now let us go through the answers for these two questions together. For question 7, the correct answer is B, dendrite and axon terminal. The dendrite receives incoming signals and conducts impulses toward the cell body, while the axon terminal releases neurotransmitters into the synapse. Remember, the axon carries impulses away from the cell body, and the myelin sheath simply insulates, it does not release anything. For question 8, the correct answer is B. The outside of the membrane is positively charged at rest. At resting membrane potential, roughly -70 millivolts, the outside carries a positive charge, and the inside is negative. This electrochemical balance is actively maintained by the sodium-potassium pump, which pushes 3 sodium ions out and 2 potassium ions in, consuming ATP in the process. The membrane is not freely permeable at rest. Specific ion channels control exactly what moves across. If you chose C or D, revisit the concept of resting potential carefully, because understanding this polarity is absolutely essential before moving into action potentials. Before we go through this together, pause the video and give this a shot on your own. Think carefully about the order of the reflex arc pathway before moving on. So the correct answer is option A, sensory neuron, interneuron, motor neuron, then effector. Here is why. When the patellar tendon is tapped, the receptor detects that stretch stimulus. The signal then travels along the sensory neuron toward the spinal cord. Inside the spinal cord, the interneuron integrates and relays that signal across to the motor neuron. The motor neuron then carries the signal back out to the quadriceps muscle, which is your effector, causing that characteristic upward kick. A common mistake here is confusing the direction of signal flow. Remember, sensory neurons carry signals to the central nervous system, while motor neurons carry signals from it. Think of it like a report going up to management and an instruction coming back down. Notice option C skips the interneuron entirely between sensory and motor neurons. That is a trap many students fall into, especially since the knee jerk is described as monosynaptic. Even so, the interneuron remains part of the complete reflex arc sequence you need to know. These are true or false questions covering the nervous system concepts we have been building throughout this topic. As you work through each statement, think carefully about the anatomy, physiology, and functions involved. Do not just go with your gut feeling. Read each statement precisely, because tricky wording is where most marks are lost. Work through all 10 independently before checking your answers. Now let us work through this true and false question together. 5 statements covering some really important nervous system concepts. Part A is true. Microglia are the immune cells of the central nervous system. They function just like macrophages in the rest of the body, engulfing pathogens, dead cells, and debris. So whenever you see a question about immune defense in the CNS, think microglia. Part B is true. Depolarization happens when sodium channels open rapidly and sodium ions rush into the cell. This influx of positive ions makes the inside of the membrane more positive. That is depolarization. The key word students often miss here is influx, meaning inward movement. Part C is false. Synaptic transmission is strictly one way, unidirectional. Neurotransmitters are released from the presynaptic terminal and bind only to the postsynaptic membrane. The reverse simply does not happen. Many students get this wrong by assuming impulses can travel both directions at a synapse. Part D is false. Dendrites carry impulses toward the cell body, not away. It is the axon that carries impulses away from the cell body. A helpful way to remember this: dendrites deliver signals in, axons send signals out. Part E is true. Neurotransmitters are packaged inside synaptic vesicles at the axon terminal. When an impulse arrives, those vesicles fuse with the membrane and release their contents into the synaptic cleft. Make sure you know this sequence well. Now, let us work through the second half of question 10, covering parts F through J. These are true or false questions, so think carefully about the reasoning behind each answer, not just whether it sounds right. Part F is false. Resting potential is caused by potassium ions being at high concentration inside the cell, not outside. Potassium leaks out through channels, leaving the inside of the cell negatively charged. Sodium, on the other hand, is more concentrated outside. Part G is also false. The sodium-potassium pump is active transport, meaning it works against the concentration gradient. It pumps 3 sodium ions out and 2 potassium ions in, and this absolutely requires ATP. Diffusion is passive and needs no energy at all, so do not confuse the two. Part H is false. Carrying signals from receptors in the periphery to the central nervous system is the job of sensory neurons, also called afferent neurons. Motor neurons, or efferent neurons, carry signals from the central nervous system out to muscles and glands. Part I is true. The somatic nervous system innervates skeletal muscle for voluntary movement, while the autonomic nervous system controls involuntary smooth muscle and cardiac muscle. Part J is false. The myelin sheath wraps around the axon, not the dendrites. This insulation speeds up signal transmission through saltatory conduction at the nodes of Ranvier. These structured questions are your chance to apply everything you have covered on the nervous system in written form. Questions 11 through 13 require full, detailed answers, so practice writing in complete sentences with correct terminology. Think carefully about neural pathways, signal transmission, and the roles of the central and peripheral nervous systems. Work through each one independently before checking your answers. Here is question 11, a structured question on the autonomic nervous system, and this one is rooted in something you have personally experienced. The scenario gives you 2 everyday situations, eating a relaxed meal versus trying to eat when you are stressed. Your job is to explain the physiological differences using your knowledge of the 2 divisions of the autonomic nervous system. Think carefully about which division is dominant in each state, and then connect that to what actually happens to digestion and swallowing. The next slide walks through the full answer, so work through both states on your own first before moving on. Now let us walk through the answer to question 11, which asked you to compare sympathetic and parasympathetic effects in 2 contrasting situations. When you are stressed, the sympathetic division takes charge. This is your fight or flight response. Think of a student rushing to catch a bus, heart pounding, muscles tensed. The body prioritizes survival functions, boosting alertness and metabolism. Digestion becomes low priority, so it gets inhibited. When you are relaxed, the parasympathetic division dominates rest and repose. Energy is conserved, and the body shifts toward maintenance activities like digestion. Saliva production increases, making swallowing easier and more efficient. Here is the critical takeaway that many students miss. Both divisions operate on the same organs simultaneously. It is not a simple on-off switch between the 2. Instead, they work together, fine-tuning organ activity to achieve the most appropriate physiological state for whatever situation the body is currently facing. That balance is what makes autonomic regulation so precise and elegant. This is a structured question, asking you to explain how nerve impulses are initiated and transmitted. So let us walk through the full answer together, step by step. We start at the resting state. The neuron is sitting idle, with the outside of the membrane slightly positive and the inside at roughly negative 70 millivolts. This balance is actively maintained by the sodium-potassium pump. When a stimulus arrives, sodium channels open and sodium ions rush into the cell. The inside becomes more positive. This shift is called depolarization, and it is the action potential, the nerve impulse itself. Once triggered, the action potential propagates along the entire axon surface automatically. Critically, once the threshold is crossed, it cannot be stopped midway. This is the all-or-nothing principle. Finally, potassium channels open. Potassium flows out, and the inside returns to negative. That is repolarization. The sodium-potassium pump then works to restore the original ion concentrations, and that process requires ATP energy. So the key idea here is that nerve impulse transmission is an electrochemical cascade. Each step triggers the next in a controlled, self-propagating sequence. Before we go through this together, pause the video and give this a shot on your own. Now let us walk through this carefully. Before any impulse occurs, the neuron sits in its resting state. Outside the membrane is slightly positive, inside is slightly negative. Think of it like a battery sitting charged and ready. Step 1 is depolarization. A stimulus triggers a change in membrane permeability, and sodium ions rush into the cell. This sudden influx of positive charge flips the electrical polarity inside the membrane. Step 2 is action potential propagation. Once triggered, the action potential does not stop halfway. It travels across the entire surface of the neuron. This is an all-or-nothing event. Step 3 is repolarization. To restore the original electrical conditions, potassium ions diffuse out of the cell, bringing the inside charge back down to negative. Step 4 is ion restoration. The sodium-potassium pump actively moves sodium back out and potassium back in, returning ion concentrations to their resting levels, resetting the neuron for the next impulse. Each step depends on the one before it, so understanding the sequence is key. Question 13 asks you to define a reflex and name the 5 components of the reflex arc, a classic structured question that tests both your definitions and your ability to sequence a biological pathway correctly. A reflex is a rapid, predictable, and involuntary response to a stimulus, occurring along a pathway called the reflex arc, involving both the central and peripheral nervous systems. The 5 components in order. The sensory receptor detects the stimulus. The sensory neuron, which is your afferent neuron, carries the signal toward the CNS. The integration center in the spinal cord or brain processes the signal. The motor neuron, your efferent neuron, carries the response signal outward. Finally, the effector organ, a muscle or gland, executes the actual response. Think of it like a fire alarm system. The smoke detector is your receptor, the wiring is your sensory neuron, the control panel is your integration center, the alert signal is your motor neuron, and the sprinklers are your effector. Make sure you know the direction of signal flow. Students commonly confuse afferent and efferent. Remember, afferent arrives at the CNS. Efferent exits toward the effector. That distinction is frequently tested. Here are the answers for questions 1 through 9. Check each one carefully against your own responses and take note of any you got wrong. Do not just move on. Go back to the concept behind each incorrect answer and make sure you understand why the correct option was chosen. These questions cover key ideas from autonomic nervous system functions, sensory receptors, neuroglia types, membrane polarity, and neural signaling sequences, all essential foundations for your assessments. We have reached the end of our nervous system topic, so let us do a full wrap-up of everything covered. The nervous system is organized into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, with the peripheral side splitting into somatic and autonomic divisions. A neuron carries signals from dendrites through the cell body and out along the axon, with myelin insulating the axon to speed transmission. The action potential follows a clear sequence: resting state, depolarization as sodium rushes in, then repolarization as potassium moves out, and finally, the sodium-potassium pump restores balance using ATP. Synaptic transmission is strictly one way, with neurotransmitters released from vesicles crossing the synapse to bind receptors on the next neuron. Finally, the autonomic nervous system balances sympathetic fight or flight responses against parasympathetic rest and digest functions, while the reflex arc gives us 5 components: receptor, sensory neuron, central nervous system, motor neuron, and effector, allowing rapid involuntary responses. Use these key points as your revision checklist. If any section feels unclear, go back and review that part before your assessment. You have covered a substantial and important topic. Make sure it sticks. You have now completed the Tutorial 3 review on the nervous system. The key takeaways from this session are understanding how nerve impulses are initiated and transmitted, distinguishing between sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions of the autonomic nervous system, and identifying the components of the reflex arc. These concepts are foundational in biomedical engineering, clinical practice, and physiology research. Keep revisiting your notes and practice drawing those diagrams with confidence. You are making real progress. Once again, this is Ms. Kathy. Be blessed and be a blessing to others.